and welcome to All the Things TV, where we discuss full living and goal getting with the grace and gifts God gives. And we focus on small wins, simple strategies, and successful relationships. And today we're going to dig deeper into successful relationships because I brought my husband, Brian Baker, back on to share a little bit about what is the number one thing that has really allowed us to have a successful relationship. We probably at the time of this airing will have been married 20 years, have two beautiful teenage girls, are complete opposites.
Yes.
But yet we have found a couple keys that allows us to do life and relationships well, even through the hard times, right?
Sure.
Through the ups and the downs of real life and real faith. So today we want to talk about, what would you say? I know we've been in marriage and family ministry for almost all 20 of those years, different roles in ministries, marriage and family pastor, things like that. So we get often asked, and when we're counseling and coaching couples, you know, what's the key? How do y'all, because they know you don't have to talk to us long to know how different we are. How do you make it work? And what's the key, the wisdom, the nugget? So what do you tell people? What would you say is the number one thing that allows us to do life and relationships well?
I would say, I mean, we've said this for a long time, and that one thing would be unity. There's scripture that talks about unity. It's Psalm 133 verses 1-3, and it talks about where unity is. It's the only place in the Bible where it talks about a commanded blessing. And so I think that unity and choosing to be on each other's team is a huge deal. And having the unity to say we are on the same team and we are not going anywhere else, right. That unity helps you fight for the right goals, helps you fight for the right things, and you're very successful with each other and for each other because you've chosen to do it together. So I just think that it creates successes and failures together,
right?
Which then allows the finger pointing to not be there, and we make decisions. I made some stupid decisions early on with purchases and stuff like that early on in our marriage when we couldn't afford.
Shall we share
to
that
do
one?
that? We can if you'd like to. But those little lessons are what drove us to and allowed us to discover the power of unity. Like many things, it's a failure that educates you,
right,
to bring you to a success and to a different future.
So I would definitely say learning through lessons helped us to find unity because we started making decisions together. And I think the other tool that really helped us to figure out where we want to be unified and how to be unified was distinguishing and identifying our core values, like what matters most. So core values are those things that you determine are the characteristics and the beliefs and principles that you base your decisions on. Little decisions, your daily decisions, your life decisions. And so some of those for us are faith, family, excellence, doing the best with what we have. You know, so we have some generosity. We have identified our core values. And so then when we go back and have to make these decisions, we're able to make decisions on one another's behalf because we know their heart. We know their overall desires, goals, vision based on what matters most to us as a couple and as a family.
And the good thing about the values is the values make the decision for you. If it violates the values, then the answer is no. And so it makes things pretty easy once you establish those values. And I'm not saying don't be flexible, but you definitely need to be flexible in that. But it's definitely something that helps take it's not guesswork. It can make tough decisions a whole lot easier because you're falling back on something that you both have agreed on,
Yeah.
which is unity, and those values.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference.
And I think there's a process of really figuring out what does matter most, and then going and looking at, are your decisions lining up with that? Because sometimes you can have this idealistic, like, yes, I would love to be a risk taker, or yes, I would love to be generous, or yes, I would love to be honest. But if your decisions and what's coming out of it doesn't line up with that, we have a pastor friend, who one of his core values is vacations. It's very important for him to have time away and to balance life and ministry with fun and with disconnecting and refreshing. Well, if you have the core value of vacations, but you look at your schedule and you have not vacationed in 3 years, then that probably isn't an active and living core value. So I think it's important to really also take that list and measure it up against how you're living. A good way to do that is take a look at your credit card statement or your debit card statement, and how are you, if your core value is family, how are you spending your money? Is it for you to go and do all the things that you want to do and buy the toys that you want? Or are you investing in the family and time together as a family? So I think there's some practical ways that we can determine if those core values are true core values, and if they're showing fruit and bearing fruit in your relationship as well.
Very much so. We try to kind of check that, and as a family, and that's really, I think we've done a really good job at keeping those things on track, and I think our girls would be examples of that. For sure.
I want to go back to something that you said about making decisions together, because that's a big thing for couples. When you don't make decisions together, or don't make decisions on behalf of the other person and the core values in the relationship, you mentioned blame. So if I make a decision, if it's like, I decided to, I don't know, give an example. Yeah, that was good. I decided to, let's say, buy a four-wheeler. Let's say you decided to buy a four-wheeler without. Yeah. If that four-wheeler breaks down within the first 30 days, I'm going to be pissed. Because now we've spent thousands of dollars.
Man, that's a good budget.
You spent thousands of dollars, and now it's not even working, and it's sitting in a garage instead of my car. Yes. So this is totally fictional, but you saw how passionate I got about that. So you can see how I would be mad at him, because it was his decision to waste our money in that way, to take up my space, to blah, 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 blah. Instead of it, we decided as a family to buy a recreational vehicle, a four-wheeler, and we get to enjoy it. And now it broke down. So how are we going to fix it? And what are we going to do next? So you can see how making an I decision versus making a we decision. And speaking of that, I think it was the University of California, Berkeley, did a study on the differences of couples who use the word I versus we when they're just talking, like our kids versus my kids, or my money versus our money or time. And they found that couples that use the word I, my, versus those that say we and our, were less satisfied in their marriage and more likely to get a divorce. And you can see how the power of that two-letter word, we, can make a difference in how you're operating, how you're thinking, and how it's playing out, right?
Sure.
It's powerful. It's powerful.
It's the other piece to this is kind of a side note, but it's huge, is a woman needs security. Mm-hmm. So that's financial, that's emotional, she needs to feel protected, all of those things, and that's their number one need. And love is wrapped up in security. People think they need love. Well, love is a piece of the security.
Yeah, feel secure in your love.
And by that being a we and an us, it naturally creates a security, because it's not I'm alone.
Yes.
Or the threat of I'm alone. When people are having arguments, There can be all kinds of things that are said that create that isolation, that it's not a we, that it is a me versus you
Right.
kind of a situation, and that never goes well.
There's not an I in team. And we often use that team analogy, offense and defense. So do you want to kind of talk about the team mentality?
Sure. So this is just kind of an analogy. I love football. I'm a typical guy in that regard. But the analogy that the Lord kind of gave me about football is that if we work as a team, we are always on offense together and we are always on defense together. So at times we have the ball and we're pressing forward, and our goal is to score a touchdown and win. There's times that if I'm the quarterback and I'm calling plays or whatever, we are working on those things together. The play is called together. But if I get sacked or the play doesn't go well and the defense just knew what we were doing and we got crushed, it's a setback, yes. But she doesn't flip around and become a part of the defense. She's always on my team, which allows us to then always press forward that direction to make it, to attempt to win in life and win the game, win that task. And so we make good plays in marriage and we make bad plays in marriage. And you have to understand that I'm not getting drafted by another team. I'm not leaving this team. This is my team, and our goal is to score a touchdown. And so by it being a team mentality, it allows us truly to take the losses and take the gains, and it's a loss or a gain together. That concept, if that doesn't create unity and a we, I don't know what will. But we're always on the same side of the ball. We are always working together to push forward, or we're working on defense to fight back.
And we're always each other's cheerleaders.
Correct.
And the plays are called based on the core values and based on the heart and the goals of us as a couple and us as a family. So, well, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. On behalf of Brian and Tiffany Baker, you've been watching All the Things TV. I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, helping you fuel and fulfill your faith journey through the ups and through the downs. Now go do all that you've been created to do with the grace and the gifts God's given you.
God bless you. Take care.